Hey, Joe here from Home Studio Corner. In this video, I'm going to show you a couple of quick things that you should know about Melodyne Essential, how to use it, how to get the most out of it. If you use Studio One Professional, then Melodyne's included. You probably already knew that. For a long time, longer than I care to admit, I did not use tuning software on my vocals. I don't know what was my problem. Hindsight, now I do. I see it as a useful tool, just as useful as something like EQ and compression. Tuning is another way to add some polish to the song. I don't think it's an excuse for not learning how to sing well and making sure you record a great take, but if it's a great take with a little bit of pitchiness, I'm okay with that. Melodyne is actually a great tool for fixing that. I'm sure that the bigger, fancier versions of Melodyne are great, like Melodyne Studio and whatever other ones there are. I've never personally used them because Melodyne Essential actually gets the job done for me, and I dig it. So here is a vocal from a song I released years ago this is back when I was in my dreaded non-tuning days, a song called You Don't Know. Here's kind of a rough mix. You don't know, you don't know. We actually remixed this recently for VIP for a cool challenge. Anyway, you can check that out some other time. But here's the raw vocal. You don't know, you don't know. Not the worst thing in the world, but not the best either. It makes me cringe a little bit and question doing this video at all. But I'm here to serve. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit Command M, and that basically opens Melodyne on the selected region, which is this one. And you'll see Melodyne thinks for a second. Okay, forget that. No, we're not going over there. It is a little weird about how the licensing works, but once you get it up and running, you have to register it with Ceremony, which makes sense because they're giving it to you essentially for free. But what happens is you get this view. You've probably seen this before, where it shows you, no, stop it. I don't want to go here. Go away. Where it shows you the actual notes, and basically it's trying to determine where the notes are, and then it shows you kind of how they look. So you got a couple of things. You got the bigger blob, which I'm going to zoom in a little bit this way. If you zoom in pretty big, you can see it pretty well. Okay, so you've got the bigger blob, which you can move around and mess with, and then you've got the line, which is kind of showing the actual pitch. So when you see a big up and down, looks like a waveform, that's vibrato. Never. That's what that is. Let's go back to the spot in the song we were just listening to, because that did not sound super great. Okay, so it's guessing as to what notes are there, and it usually guesses pretty well, but there's a couple of things you have to know, and I'll show those to you because otherwise it gets really frustrating. So first thing to say, it is okay to tune everything, as long as, this big asterisk, as long as you go listen to every single note. Because Melodyne, as great as it is, it's not perfect. It will miss things. It will misjudge what note it needs to go to, so you have to go through and listen. I personally, when I have time, like to go through note by note and just manually adjust the notes that need adjusting. To me, that's a good hybrid of leaving things alone and not tuning everything, but then the notes that need it, I do go in and do that. If it's something like background vocals, however, I'll just tune everything. Now, how do you do that? When you open it up for the first time and you don't have any notes selected, so when it's highlighted red, that specific note is selected. When you click away, everything is essentially selected. If you come up here to this little jobber right there, you can adjust the pitch center and pitch drift. Center means where's the note gonna sit, and then drift is if I'm singing a note and I'm kind of falling off pitch, it's gonna tighten that up so I don't fall off as much. So watch as I slide this over, you'll see all the notes start to move. Yoink. See, they all tightened up to the center. If I do that, you'll see the lines start to pull together. So both of these, you may think 100% pitch drift and pitch center will sound terrible, but it actually doesn't sound bad. Melodyne to me sounds very natural. You can't really get it to sound unnatural, which is cool. Here's what that sounds like. You don't know, you don't know. It just put me right on pitch versus before, these first couple notes were pretty shaky. You don't know. It just wasn't very good. But then we go and just tell it to get everybody up in the middle again, and You still doesn't sound right, does it? That's what I was talking about before. So when you do the all skate, everybody gets tuned. It doesn't work unless you do a few things beforehand. So let me undo that and go through and show you a couple things. Let's actually back up a little bit. There's actually an easy way to almost visually tell when Melodyne made a mistake, and then you can go fix it visually. I know you shouldn't do a lot of things visually in the studio. This is one where you can. I'll sometimes do this. I'll have a YouTube video over here watching that, and I'll go through and just visually fix stuff on a vocal because I don't have to listen to it because I can just see where the mess ups, where the mistakes are. So right here, you see how there's a blob in the middle and there's a line that's down here and a line that's up here. Those are two different notes. And because they're so close, they're only a half step away, and I probably didn't sing them as in pitch as I would have liked to. Melodyne thinks it's just one note that I was singing badly. So here's what that sounds like without tuning. So it's clearly, obviously, three notes. Sorry, Melodyne, you got it wrong. So the way you handle that is you actually are going to split this blob into two blobs. Now, it's not super intuitive. You have to select the blob first. Then you bring your mouse up, find the spot where you want to split them, which will be right here. Move your mouse up a little bit towards the top of it, and it turns into this. I know it took me forever to figure this out. Then you just double click. Boink. Now I've got two blobs that I can tune. Now I can leave them alone, go do this throughout the entire song, and then use this to auto pitch correct everything. Or if you want to be a little less heavy-handed and be a little more in control, you can just adjust the individual blobs. So this one, just looking at it, this gray area is the note. I'm clearly sharp. If I select the note, we can see I'm 15 cents sharp. So not the worst thing in the world, but I bet we could clean it up. Now if you click and drag it, it's going to jump to different notes. And they're all going to be 15 cents sharp. I don't know why it defaults to that, but that's the way it is. If you hold down on the Mac Option, you can click and drag it and get it exactly where you want it to go. You can also select this, come up here, and adjust the pitch center just for that specific note. But when I'm in this mode and going through, I'll just hold down Option, move it, and just be done with it. Now, if it needs to be adjusted because it starts to go off pitch, like let's look at this note over here. Let's assume this one started to drift a little bit. Then I'll find the pitch center, but then I'll come in and I'll actually say, okay, adjust this pitch drift, please, to get it back on. That was a bad example because it didn't actually do it. But that's the way I handle it. So first thing I'll do is go through and just visually look for obvious spots where it got it wrong. Like right here. I bet it's the same kind of section. Let's listen to that. Yeah, that I. Those are obviously two different notes, Melodyne, you goofball. So we're going to come separate it here, and now we can adjust them. So let's listen again. That one could probably be, it's probably veering off pitch a little bit. Let's make it a little smoother. Okay, the next note. That one's not too bad. Let's, it looks a little sideways or diagonal to me, so let's do that. And sounds a lot better. Those are more in pitch. That's kind of the process for me. That's what I do when I'm going through tuning. First thing is to go find all the mistakes that Melodyne made, fix those, and then you can kind of go through and do your tuning. So right here, here's another example. You don't know. Those are clearly two notes, but for whatever reason, Melodyne didn't grab it. So I can come in here. You don't know. This one is starting to go, don't. I'm anticipating the next note, and I'm going up. So I need to adjust that, kind of make it a little flatter. I think that'll help. You don't know. Even that one still, it's kind of like I'm sliding for the first part of the note, so I'll just separate those two and tune that second one. You don't know. So even when you can split in two scenarios where I will split the note. When it is obviously two notes that Melodyne missed, or if it's something like this where I kind of slid up to the note, and the slide up is fine, but it's the note itself that needs to be tuned. I kind of flipped a note here and then also slid up. So this actually needs probably two splits. We're going to split it there because that's actually the note I sang, and then I slid up to here. Actually slid too sharp and came back down. So what we can do is split it here, get this one in pitch, get this one in pitch. And we could even maybe tighten that one up from a pitch drift standpoint, oh, this is one thing. Sorry, I didn't show you this earlier. If you see yourself adjusting pitch drift, I think I did it earlier in this video, and it's not adjusting, it's because this only applies to stuff that hasn't been fine-tuned manually. When you see this option pop up, just click the button, and now it'll let you adjust the pitch drift of notes that you've fine-tuned manually, which I just did, which means I adjusted the pitch myself without doing it automatically. So as you can see, the pitch kind of goes up and then down, and we're just tightening it up. It still maintains the vibrato, still sounds like me, it's just a little more in pitch. Now, maybe a better ear than mine can hear the tuning happening. I found with Melodyne, I can't make it do like the Cher or the T-Pain effect without really trying to manipulate it. And it just sounds very natural to me. So I think it's a great option. I've used Auto-Tune plenty in the past. Auto-Tune lets you kind of mess with the vibrato and flatten out sounds, and it has the automatic mode and all those things, which are fine and great and creative. But if you're looking for just something to take a vocal, get the pitch a little closer, and still sound like the singer without doing anything dramatic, Melodyne's great. And the added plus, of course, is if you're a Studio One Pro user, it's already baked into your software. You don't have to buy anything else. It's right there. And that's what I use all the time on all my vocals, and it works well. All right, that's it for me. If you like mixing tips from yours truly, then you'll love my 5-step mix guide. Go to 5stepmix.com. You can get one for free, and your mixes will be better because of it. That's a win-win, right? All right, thanks for watching. See ya.